Doing today? Welcome to my photography live stream where we talk about photography and catch up with the community, see how everybody's doing. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm doing well, thanks. And as always, I like the audience to drive the conversation. So it's generally open Q&A type photography. So if you have any questions about photography or OM system cameras in general, I'll be happy to do the best I can to answer them. That said, I do have a few things on the plate. This coming Wednesday, I have another group meetup with some Moem system ambassadors. There's going to be one new one. Um, oh my goodness, I forgot his name off the top of my head. But just check the check my channel page, and you'll see the live stream. Excuse me, set up for this coming Wednesday, and they're going to be talking about nature photography. So looking forward, put that on your calendar. That'll be this coming Wednesday evening, Eastern Standard Time, 5:30. And also, I have another guest, another OM System Ambassador. Many of you may have know him from his own YouTube channel, and also I had him as a guest on the annual meetup. But he's also a tremendous educator, and he'll be sharing his tips as well in nature photography because it's kind of springtime and people are getting out there more, and I thought this was a good time to talk about nature photography and get some tips and learn more about your camera and what to look for, field craft, all that kind of stuff. I always learn something new when I invite them on, and I'm sure you will as well. So I have that, and let's see. Those are the two big announcements I wanted to make, and oh, sorry. You know how it is with my streams. I just kind of turn the camera on and just start to jibber jabber. But thanks everyone who's here for being here, and I'll just go ahead right to the chat section and see what we got. So I see Ernest here. Good morning. Good to see you. And Zoltan, good morning. Good to see you too. And let's see, Ernest has a question. Since it's Sunday, it'll be pretty fun here today, or full, hopefully fun. So I'll try and get my question. Is there a way I can get a new LCD screen for my own one Mark II? Mine got seriously scratched. Ooh, if you're really handy with, you know, working with circuits and electronics, right, in general, not like it to the level of you're soldering SMBs on the board, but taking things apart and putting them back together without destroying your camera, maybe, maybe you can do it yourself. But your best bet is to just send it in. It can be done. Um, but I don't know what the cost would be, but you would have to send it in to get it done. That's what I would recommend. Okay, but I've seen people uh, replace the screen themselves, and it's basically there's a ribbon cable underneath the LCD that you have to be very careful of not to rip. And if you can do that, then you can probably, because the screen is held in by glue onto the plastic base, and you have to heat it up to soften the glue, then pull the old screen off without ripping the ribbon cable. I don't recommend doing it yourself. I wouldn't even try it myself at this point. But yeah, that's what I would do is tell you to send it in. Uh, they what you do is you buy like I said, you would buy like a broken camera, OM1 or OM1 Mark II. I'm sure they use the same screen, and use that for parts to fix your newer one. But again, I don't recommend it. The OM1 Mark II is an expensive camera, and you could seriously damage it if you try to do anything yourself, unless you really know what you're doing. Okay, and Robin is here. Good morning. Looks like a beautiful day. Yes, it is. At least this morning was. I haven't seen outside for the last hour. I've been sort of in my house, but it's a beautiful day. Every day above ground is a good day, as I call it, as I like to say. Roberto's here. Good to see you. Great high key photo this week of that lady, Rob. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Um, and let's see. Robin Wong is here. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Good to see you. And let's see. John is here. Says, any new comments on your Leica Deluxe 8? You were so lucky to get one when you did. The price is $2,800. Wow. I did use it. Um, Gosh, actually, I haven't used it. I took out my LX100 Mark II for Mother's Day, and I like to use that for family events, right? Mother's Day, birthdays, things like that. I like the LX100 too. I did not take the Leica Deluxe 8. I think what happened is I picked up the LX100 Mark II by mistake. I meant to take the Leica. They look so similar. Uh, with my dying eyes, everything looks the same. I'm very, very far-sighted. It's hard enough for me to read here on the screen, the chat section. So I got all my fonts really big. Uh, but yeah, I can tell you the Leica Deluxe 8 has uh fixed a lot of the I think a lot of the issues that people were having with the LX100 Mark II. Namely the LCD screen. It never bothered me, even in the LX100 Mark II. It never bothered me, but the new screen in the EVF is an OLED screen, and it is very nice and crisp. The screen on the back, I don't know if they changed that or not, but uh, the new fonts and menu system that they've implemented are very, very crisp on that screen. And the menu system is very easy to navigate and control the camera. It's really a testament to the thought that Leica put into their cameras in general. Because if you look at all of their designs, they're very, very simplified and really just get to the meat of what photography is about. And I think that's why people just love their Leicas so much, is for the user experience of using the camera. And yeah, and it is kind of a luxury item, right? I guess now that it's $2,800, my goodness, maybe I should sell mine. Because it technically, I cannot tell any difference in image quality between the two cameras, my LX100 Mark II and the Leica Deluxe 8. No difference at all. Uh, and the performance of the autofocus and all the other features, again, I cannot tell any difference between the two. They both perform equally well. Uh, the key difference is in the user experience, right? The upgraded EVF and the menu system. And of course, the design aesthetic, I think, is also much more attractive. Just subtle changes, just rounded the corners off and cleaned up the buttons. That's all they did, but it's a much cleaner. I might as well just bring them up. Let's see, I have them. Yeah, here's these two. So, but yeah, if you look at the back, I should do a video on this, right? I'm so bad at doing like videos of like my own stuff. Uh, Whoops, let me raise it up a little bit. So you can see it's a pretty substantial difference, right? In the button layout and the controls and the menu system. Even at the top, if you look, uh, just a much more simplified layout on the top as well. So, and then the front is pretty much identical. but yeah, either camera. If you're a more pragmatic person, the LX100, you can get this for under $1,000 right now easily. I Last time I looked, these were like between eight and $900 in excellent condition. This one here, if they're really going for $2,800, you're crazy if you buy this for 2,800. Uh, unless it's in your budget. If you have the money, why not? It makes you happy, just get it, right? What difference does it make on price? Uh, but for the more pragmatic, I think the LX100 Mark II will do everything the Leica will and much more in many regards. It has like the focus stacking and post focus and what else? Everything Panasonic is kind of known for on the photography side. On the video side, the two cameras are identical, more or less. I haven't used video on either one actually. I'm not really a video guy. But yeah, I really like. I thought I would sell the LX100 after getting the Deluxe 8, but I really like this camera too. And it's just not worth it for me to sell something I enjoy, even if I only use it rarely. But I did use this for Mother's Day, and it's perfect because the zoom lens starts at f1.7 and only goes to f2.8, so it's very, very fast. It's very, very difficult to get this fast a lens, you know, uh, in this compact size, right? Yeah, with a zoom. So you got a 24 to 75 zoom, f1.7 to 2.8. And the reason I like using this at family events is because a lot of times we're indoors, right? And you're working in relatively low light. So even with an f1.7 lens, I'm still at like ISO 3200 to 12,000 in that range when I'm working indoors. It would be really hard to shoot with, say, the OM3 in a kit lens, right? Because we're at minimum f4, but if it's the actual pancake kit lens, you're at f3.5 to 5.6. So you're two stops darker, sometimes three stops darker, depending on, your focal length, which makes a huge difference in the image quality. Because you're able to shoot at much lower ISOs with that camera. And I'm a fair weather photographer. They're not weather sealed or anything, so I don't take them out in the rain. But they're both great cameras. Uh, if your budget allows and you like the Leica, just get it. It's okay. No judgment here. You know what I mean? Uh, and for the pragmatic, the LX100 Mark II uh, would be my choice. And because I compared it to, say, my Pen F. I got the Pen F with the kit lens, the 1442, easy zoom kit lens, and the overall size and weight, it's not that much difference in real life. I mean, if you look at the specs, yeah, it's a couple hundred grams, but in practice, we're starting at a very low number to begin with, right? And but when I was shooting indoors, I was easily two stops higher on the Pen F in terms of ISO. So I'll get better images with the LX100 Mark II. So excuse me. Yeah, I was lucky. I knew it when I bought it. I didn't buy it as an investment. I bought it because I want to enjoy the camera. But I knew it was going to go up. And the moment that I saw that I could get my hands on one, it was just random because I went to the camera store to trade in a bunch of stuff to offset the OM3 costs, right? And I was shocked. I was like, I asked them, when are you going to get the Deluxe 8 in? And they said, oh, we just got some in because it wasn't on their website. I was like, holy crap. Yeah, I'll take one. And so Lady Luck was on my side that day. Let's see. And Larry's here. Good morning. And the mic says, is the Godox V863O flash compatible with Olympus? No, it's with the optical RC flash control. It is not. The optical RC flash control is proprietary to Olympus flashes. The Godox is not going to work with that. And let's see. Thomas, good morning. Good to see you. 20 degrees Celsius in Georgia. What is that? That's got to be like 70 in Fahrenheit. I wish the United States back in the 70s when there was a push for it converted to the metric system. It just made so much sense. Excuse me one second. Whenever I start talking, it just brings up this phlegm. And so for the first like half hour of the stream, I'm like constantly fighting that. Um, just want to clarify that my LCD was only slightly scratched. It's no big deal, really, just a bit annoying, but probably not even. Yeah, it's not. If it's just slightly scratched, forget it. Don't do anything. It's not worth the risk. Even if you could send it in and get it fixed, I wouldn't do it because it, sometimes they have to remove screws and get under the skin, and they can mess with the weather sealing. It can mess with the glues that hold things together. You know, I yeah, just rule of thumb. I don't like to mess with something. If it's working, I don't like to mess with it. Uh, and Walter is here. Oh my goodness, Walter, how you doing? Yeah, it has been a while. Good to see you. And we need to get together with our friends like we did 2 years ago. I can't believe it's been 2 years since we got together with our friends up in well, we went somewhere north, Fredericksburg or something. We need to do that again. Ryder says, "Hi Robin, love your short videos on the Olympus camera shortcuts." Oh yeah, yeah, I've been seeing those pop up on my stream time to time. Those are cool. Good job, Robin. I got to be honest, I have not been doing tutorials and vlogs and stuff for a long time, and I need to get back to that. I am definitely going to make an effort. I turned down so many product reviews this past month because I was like, It's just enough. I got 2 or 3 items I got to finish, and then once those are done, unless I give in to my gas, because they send me free stuff, and sometimes it's things that I want, and it's things that I think, and if I want it, it's for my photography, uh, and things that I would use, and like the video review I'm doing for this LED light. It's not just a video review. I'm showing my setup and how I use the light with, for like this one I'm doing sort of a product shot. So there's sort of educational as well to some extent. They're not full on tutorials on lighting, but I don't just talk about the light. I do that in the first couple of minutes. I talk about the light, the specs, and all of that. And then I get in right into the demonstrations, and then I try to explain how I use the light, and and hopefully it's somewhat educational as well. But anyhow, I do need to get back to just normal videos because those are a lot more helpful. The video reviews, the product reviews. It's why a lot of people come to YouTube. Not my audience necessarily, but a lot of people are looking for reviews and helping them making buying decisions. So the reviews do still serve a purpose, but they're just seriously a distraction to my photography. which I think all of my peers have found out because a lot of them have just stopped doing reviews for the most part and are focusing on photography. And I'm kind of reaching that point where I'm like, these reviews are very distracting, and I'm not focusing on my photography quite as much. I try to use the product for my photography and see how it can expand my photography, but it's not the emphasis of the review of the video. It's a little frustrating. It's kind of a yeah, life of a influencer. I hate that term, but hopefully the information I provide is useful, even if it's just a product review. Uh, and Paul says, "Are you suggesting that Panasonic make Leica cameras for them?" Oh, no, no, no. Panasonic has so many things in them that make them uniquely Panasonic. Uh, and they have their own design language and personality to their cameras that I think, a lot of people appreciate. I don't think, for example, because look at it this way, for a while, the Leica Deluxe series was simply a rebadged Panasonic. They're virtually identical in every other way: menu systems, features, capability, etc. Slight change in the design language, but not much. And it was only until the Deluxe 8 that Leica actually make a concerted effort to make it uniquely theirs. I think if Panasonic, excuse me, if Panasonic were to rebadge the LX100 Mark III, right, and just make it just like the Deluxe 8, that would be a mistake. Uh, I don't think people will buy it because where somebody might buy a Leica for the badging, right? Because they just want that badge. It's okay, you know. They don't care if it's just a rebadge Panasonic. But if you take a Panasonic, rebadge it as a Leica, I'm sorry, you take a Leica and rebadge it as a Panasonic and strip away all the things that make Panasonic what they are, nobody's going to buy that, even if it's like half the price. Uh, they're going to say, why did you cripple the Panasonic, right? So I think that would be a big mistake. For example, look at the Leica SL3, the new 60 megapixel SL3 L mount full frame camera. Everybody expected the Panasonic S1R Mark II to be exactly the same thing, right? Just basically the SL3 is a rebadged Panasonic. But that's not the case. Leica really made an effort to make the SL3 their own, just like they did with the SL2 in many respects. But everyone knew the SL2 was basically a rebadged Panasonic, but Leica took it just a few steps further, but not far enough. The SL3, they made it quite a bit different. It was quite a bit of upgrade from the SL2. But then the S1R Mark II is nothing like the SL3. Different sensor, different body, completely different body, all kinds of things. Feature set, video capability, even photographic capability, totally different. So I think that they made the right decision. And from what I've heard or what I've seen somewhere, the S1R Mark II is doing well for them. So that's good news. But yeah, if all they did was take the SL3 and just rebadge it Panasonic and add some of the normal Panasonic stuff in there, I think the S1R Mark II would have had a harder time selling, to be honest, because I don't know. I just think it would have been a problem for them. I think what they did with the S1R Mark II was very, very smart and the right move. Okay. Uh, and does the lens IBIS on the Panasonic 41? No, it does not. With the Panasonic lenses that have IBIS on them, it's basically disabled. I think you can pick in-body stabilization or lens stabilization, but you can't use both at the same time. You have to pick one. And on the 40 to 150, I would probably use the in-body stabilization because that's a full 5-axis stabilization versus usually what's in a lens is 3-axis, right? Don't quote me on that, but lens stabilization only makes sense for much longer focal lengths, like 300 and up. I mean, some would argue 200 and up, but I would say, if you're shooting at 300 millimeters and higher, that's when lens stabilization is probably the better option. But I would use IBIS, in-body stabilization, and don't worry about the image stabilization on the lens. And Paul says you sold me on buying the Panasonic. Okay, cool. It's a great camera. Any of the Panasonics really. Panasonic makes great, great cameras. Uh, this I had a GX85 before, and it just never grew on me because I have a Pen F. They're both rangefinder style, but the camera itself was excellent. Very well built, felt solid in the hand, plenty of features, a much better menu system, if I want to be honest. But I just like the design aesthetic of the Olympus, and also I like the color science a little better. The Panasonic color science is I can't put my finger on it, but it's a little bit off. I always have to tweak it in post-processing. Uh, almost always. With OM systems, I rarely have to do much other than fix the white balance. And even then, the white balance is usually more pleasing, the white balance that it chose, than an actually more accurate white balance. So the anyway, so I've pretty much stuck with OM Systems Olympus cameras because of the color science and the features and the aesthetics of the camera. It's just a perfect fit for me. And as always, the overall system I think is excellent with respect to image quality and feature set and price point. I, I I mean, I know a lot of people balked at the OM3 initially. If we want to talk about a more recent example, at the pricing, they love the camera, but they were like, "Come on, $2,000?" I would argue that's a bargain. Now that I've been using it for a few months, 2,000 is really a bargain for that camera compared to other cameras you can get for 2,000, like Canon R6 Mark II. I'd much rather have an OM3. Nikon ZF you can get for a little bit less. Again, I'd still much rather have an OM3. Uh, what else is in $2,000 price point? There's a lot of cameras at that price point and lower, but very few can match the aesthetics, the build quality, the performance and feature sets that are available, and the overall lens system the overall system, lenses that are available to you. Uh, and be so compact and lightweight. I went out yesterday with the 60 millimeter macro and the OM3 and did a lot of, I'm still practicing. I'm not great at macro and close up photography, but I had a blast. And to do the same thing on any other system uh, would be a heavier, bulkier setup. So size and weight, there's an advantage there. And I would argue that I got better results, or I will get better results with my OM3 in terms of resolution and quality of the final image than just about any other system at that price point and lower. And that's just a macro. If I'm going to do birding, I could make the same argument. Birds in flight with the tracking. And I've done a lot of portraits with this lately as well, using the 12 to 40 Pro. And again, pretty much seamless, very smooth, and uh, very good performance in terms of autofocus, image quality, and final result in terms of editing. Very, very smooth on that camera. So you can get the 12 to 45 with the OM3 for what is it, 22.99? It's $2,300. At least it was. I don't know what it is now. That's a bar. I wish I got the 12 to 45. My 12 to 40 is getting a little flaky. But the 12 to 45, and it's my fault. A lot of you guys know that story. But the 12 to 45 is an excellent lens. Much smaller, more compact, constant f4 zoom. So you can dial in, you can zoom it out to 45 millimeters at f4, and you get a really beautiful image. And it's very conducive to my style of photography because I don't like that super shallow depth of field in portraits all the time. A lot of times I like more of an environmental shot where you have the model or the person, whatever the subject is, in its environment, in the context of where it is, to help tell the story of the entire image. And being able to shoot, with that deeper depth of field helps in all of the photography that I do. Whether it's my real estate, architectural, doing macro work, all of that stuff is helped by that deeper depth of field that you get. Being able to shoot at lower ISOs and faster shutter speeds, and then maintain that depth of field just makes everything I do so much easier. Because I've taken out my full frame cameras time to time, and the depth of field being so shallow, I have to be really careful. You know, yeah, I love doing shallow depth of field sometimes with Ellie. My dog, because my backyard is a disaster. So I don't, there's no context or story in my backyard. Trust me, it's a train wreck back there. So if I can blur out the background so you can't see like my neighbor's shed and broken down cars and all of that crap, he's been cited so many times to clean up his backyard. I don't know how many fines he's paid. But anyway, but yeah, the shallow depth of field is a challenge sometimes, and not useful at all to me for a lot of things that when I'm shooting my full frame cameras. So I'm always stopping them down. And that's why, like for my Canon, I bought the 24 to 105 kit lens. It's like an f4.5 to f7 or f8. I forget what it is, but it's way up there. It's like every kit lens, right? And that's perfectly fine by me. I don't need that razor thin depth of field in 99.9% of my photos. Um, but then the challenge comes is the ISO start cranking up, right? For me to get the depth of field that I want, or my shutter speed has to drop. And when I'm taking pictures of Ellie, that's an issue. I have to be at least 1/200th, 1/400th of a second because she's always turning her head and twitching. Um, anyhow, Marco, good to see you. Good morning. And let's see, Zoltan, the LX100 Mark II, an awesome camera. Yes. I did forget something. While I'm drinking my coffee, uh, a friend of mine's brother who lives overseas was traveling and picked me up some coffee from overseas. Uh, this is awesome. And I really appreciate I just love these little gifts. I got another small, like somebody gave me their old flash It's just a sun pack, like it's probably like a $10 flash back in the day. It's not worth anything now. But anyhow, this coffee is really delicious. It's very strong. Whoops. And it's been ground down to a very, very fine powder. Uh, so motion detected in front door. Hold on. Oh, somebody's at my door. I'm sorry. I'm gonna come back and talk about this just for a minute, and then we'll get back to the stream. Just all right. Sorry about that. It's my mom. She dropped off some food as always. But anyhow, this is what in Dubin Gourmet, very strong. His name his name is Michael. Gave it to me, and he's a really good photographer and gets because he travels a lot. He gets some really great pictures. I'm gonna pull up his Instagram real quick. It's Michael 13. So, whoops, yeah, this one here. Just search for Michael 13, and you can see it's very, very colorful, very punchy. I mean, his photography is really good and really interesting because he does all of these. He has a lot of things going on to the places he travels to and gets these shots. Um, and is also an OM system shooter. I believe he has the OM1 Mark One. I don't know if he states that in any of his posts, but uh, yeah, just about every one of these pictures were taken with an OM system camera. Not that it matters. He would take these images with any camera, really. But yeah, it's. I'm always envious of people that travel and can get out there to all these places. Uh, but thank you again, Michael, for the coffee. I really appreciate it. Um, I like to drink coffee black sometimes, and I could really taste the difference with this. It was really, really good. Okay, let's see. ATR Bear, good to see you. Sam John, good to see you. And currently thinking about trying out film. Would an OM2N be a good beginner for aperture priority mode? Yeah, find a good one though. Make sure the meter's working and the shutter. The shutter has problems sometimes. So wherever you get it from, just make sure all of that is working. Because I've had OM cameras that the shutter goes bad. Like not that it doesn't take a picture, but like the speed is off. So you set it for 1/60th of a second, but then it fires at like 1/1000th or it fires at like 1/2 second. I mean, it's just the So even though the light meter looks like it's working, it's sending the wrong signal to the shutter kind of randomly, and then and then the other problem is, if I recall, is the battery. Finding the batteries that'll work with that camera. You can't just They have conversions for the battery, so you can buy the newer standard batteries, but finding the battery that'll work with it can be a little tricky and a little expensive, right? You need to buy I forget what they're called, but honestly, if you can buy an OM1 and forget about aperture priority and just do everything manually, right? The OM1s were generally more reliable, and whether the meter works or not, the camera's going to work. You don't have to, the camera and the shutter are not linked together. So you can just use the camera in full mechanical mode and just meter once. Okay, with film, what I found was once you've kind of established the base shutter speed and aperture, once you've figured out because the film is going to be, say, ISO 400. Once you've figured out the initial exposure settings, you very quickly adapt to adjusting the exposure settings as needed by eye. You don't even need to meter every scene. And you can practice this with your digital camera, right? It's a little awkward because we use just sort of nameless dials versus, with a film camera, everything's mechanical, or like Fujifilm, everything is mechanical, right? Aperture, shutter speed, and you just lock the ISO. So lock your ISO at ISO 400 and use the front and rear dials to control aperture and shutter speed. So you're in full manual mode with full manual mode. Lock your ISO at 400 and use the front and rear dials for aperture and shutter speed, your choice. You could even go as far as to just adapt a uh, OM system lens, a manual lens, right? One of the vintage ones. But and practice. Basically, what I'm saying is practice exposure, right? Just by eye. It's not as hard as you think, really. It's a little trickier with digital because digital is not quite as flexible. Uh, and particularly in the highlights, you have to be very, very conscious of the highlights. So what I would do is, uh, whatever exposure you think, like let's say you set the exposure 1/100th of a second, ISO 400, f8. Okay, say that's your exposure settings that you've dialed in. Uh, what I would do is I would set the shutter speed. I would double the shutter speed to ISO from 1/100th of a second to 1/200th of a second. Just underexpose all of your scenes by about one stop, and then you can preserve your highlights a lot better that way. And then in post processing, just push your shadows a little bit. Or if you do in camera processing, right? Let's say you use the natural color profile, you can set the highlight and shadows in camera, push the shadows up by one stop. And that's all you need to do. And then, um, or, about a +4 on the shadows, right? In camera. Then your JPEGs will come out just fine. The raw images will look underexposed, but your JPEG should look pretty good. So try that. That's a lot cheaper than experimenting with film until you get pretty good at it, right? But I did it with film, and within 2 or 3 rolls, I was pretty good. Once I had the base exposure set, especially in street photography, lighting doesn't change that much. So if I'm on the street and I take a picture of a scene like, a row of townhouses or something, I have my base exposure set and I can just use a phone app, right? They got phone apps where you can just kind of point at the scene, it'll tell you what exposure setting. And then from there, let's say I turn the corner and it's kind of an alleyway. I could say, oh, well, I just need to dial in, roughly 2 stops. brighter for this scene. So I'll take a picture there. And then if I go around and it gets cloudy, I just dial in one stop brighter. If suddenly the sun comes out and it's very strong, I might dial in -1 or 2 stops, right? I'm already -1, so I might dial in one more -1 stop. And then if you develop your own film or send it out to a lab, you're going to get a certain rebate, right? Or strip of film. And as you're scanning it in, a lot of times the scanning software will auto expose the image again when you're scanning the film in. And it then, it's basically doing its own post-processing as it's scanning. And you'll get great, really good exposed images. With film, you don't have to worry about the highlights. You can overexpose by like 4 or 5 stops and still bring plenty of detail back. The problem with film is in the shadows. If you try to bring up the shadows even by 1 or 2 stops, you'll start to see a lot of grain. And so with film, it's a little bit opposite. With film, you want to overexpose a little bit. So whatever you think the settings are, I would just overexpose maybe 1 stop, and then just like I said, you get a feel for it very quickly. Uh, but yeah, Semjon, I would say you can get an OM2N with the aperture priority, but buy it from a reputable seller that it's been tested, you know, and CLA. You're gonna probably pay a couple $100 for it, but it's worth it if you want that aperture priority. And if they did the battery conversion as well, that would be also very, very useful. Okay, but for me, I would just get the all-in-one and just use it full manual. And Robert's here. Oh, hey, Robert. I was just talking about your brother and the coffee. It's awesome. And Semjon, I have a cheap fake Leica setup, the GX85 and 15 millimeter. That gives me the fun rangefinder feel. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, digital Leicas, how different are they from, in terms of image quality, how different are they really from any digital camera, right? They're not that different. It's the lenses that make the difference. And you have a Leica lens. People argue that's not really a Leica lens, but I can tell you the one Leica lens and everything I've heard about the 15 are excellent. The look, the contrast, the image quality coming from the Leica branded lenses that work on Micro Four Thirds are excellent. And Semjon says a big part of the OM3 price comes from the stack sensor. In full frame, you're looking at 3.5 to 4K for a stack sensor. Question is it needed in OM3? Absolutely, it's needed. Without the stack sensor, the birds in flight type photography, the sports action wildlife would suffer. God, I'm so sorry. Uh, that's my argument anyway. And then of course the video capability. People, they don't brag about their video capability much, but less rolling shutter in video, less rolling shutter in your sports action photography, and having that faster sensor readout also gives you better autofocus performance. So lot of things, right? And the 60 macro is great on the Panasonic. Oh, cool. Good to know. Paul, I think you have the G9, right? And you maybe the G9 Mark II now. I think you bought that recently. Yeah. And hello, Rob. OM1. So you have the OM1 Mark One. So this is Michael who bought me the coffee. It's great to see you here, Mike. And the new OM3. Enjoy the coffee. I hope you like it. Thank you so much. So Michael and his brother Robert, we're now OM3 buddies. We all have our OM3s to go out and shoot. And then Greg says, how's the photo organization and keywording albums in DxO Lab versus Lightroom? Uh, well, I would say that, you know, it has the same keywording and it has, I wouldn't call them album. They call them, I think in Lightroom, they call them folders. I never used them in Lightroom, but in DxO, I do use them time to time. Or I think it's called projects in DxO. My memory's so bad. Uh, and it's fine. I tend to organize my things on my own hard drive in folders and subfolders, whether chronologically or by client or by subject. And I kind of have a system for that. And I try not to use whatever cataloging features they have in or the photo editing software. Because photo editing software catalogs can get corrupted. You could update to a new software, and whatever cataloging system you have in that software, you're going to be. And this is the Achilles heel of Lightroom, right? People get uh, committed to the Lightroom catalog, and it's very hard for them to move away from that. I'm sure there's going to be some tools out there for you to export your cataloging system to other software or in other ways that maybe you would still be able to find your photos if you decide to ditch Lightroom. But for the most part, my workflow, I've always tried to avoid the photo editing software cataloging system and just use my own. But if you're selling your photography, right, and you need to be able to access an image very quickly, because there are people that catalog their images for decades, right? And they have their catalog available, their portfolio available on sale, and some agency or company may want to use a particular photo. You need to be able to find that photo very quickly. So, uh, and this has been the problem for a lot of people moving away from Lightroom, is they need that cataloging system because that's how they make their living, is licensing out their photography. Now, for your own personal use, I recommend not using any cataloging system built into software. Maybe use it as an aid, as a crutch, but don't rely on it. Don't rely on it. Make your own cataloging system on your own hard drive, and maybe keep a spreadsheet separately of keywords that you're going to maintain. I'm really not the best person to ask about cataloging and data asset management. But that's where you need to look is there's books out there called DAM, Data Asset Management. If you really want to get really good at it, you need to kind of, do your due diligence and study or read these books on data asset management. Because yeah, some people make, if you plan to make a living selling your photography and licensing it out, it's going to be very critical for you to be able to access your images quickly. But I don't bother. I have my own. Typically, for my personal work, for the most part, is all chronological, and then for my client work, it's by client, and then location, whatever, or by model name, things like that. But it's very, very simple system. And I went to my grandson's high school graduation. They wouldn't let me in with a camera. Cell phones were no problem. I know. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Um, in this day and age, there's 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 no way to prevent somebody from taking a picture because cell phones are just everywhere. So just because you have a camera, why does that make you any different than a person with a cell phone? So, yeah, it's ridiculous. And Adam Farb is here. Good morning. Good to see you. And let's see. Plug Nichols. Good to see you. Gosh, haven't seen you in a while. And John, thank you so much, John. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate the support you guys show me, either through, super chats like this, buying me a coffee, direct donations, memberships that I have for 99 cents. I really appreciate all of it. It helps me out a lot because, gosh, things got very, very lean for me the beginning of this month, end of last month. So this month is still very, very lean. Uh, man. Um, but fortunately, I got a photo, I got a couple of photo jobs, and I was able to buy gas and things for my car. Wow. I tell you what, man. And I actually bought breakfast yesterday. I actually ate out yesterday for the first time in a while. Um, I bought the cheapest thing on the menu, but still, it was kind of nice to go out and hang out. But anyhow, thanks so much, and great info. Thanks so. Okay, thanks, Greg. I'm happy to help. I didn't give you the best answer, but at least hopefully I pointed you in the right direction, and gave you some idea. The cataloging in Lightroom is very robust, I should add, and a lot of people are fine with the Lightroom tools and the subscription fee and all of that. That's fine. There's a lot of professionals that just use Lightroom, but there's a lot of professionals that do not like the overhead that a Lightroom catalog comes with. They can get corrupted, uh they slow your computer down unnecessarily in many cases. And there's all kinds of bug report. I mean, it's just endless. So that's why I always say always do your own cataloging system is for if it's for your own personal work or if you're starting to get paid work, you can manage a small portfolio yourself on your hard drive. It's not that hard. Um, I mean, I'll just give you a quick example as soon as my hard drive comes up. Here's my work drive for 2024. I need to rename this. It's now 2025 because I've already exported. Uh, Give me a second here. Let me arrange the screen so you can see this a little better. But yeah, I've already God, it's already May. I still haven't changed the name. I've already exported all my 2024 off of this drive. Now I'm up to 2025. And then within 2025, I got like my first quarter, and then it's just chronological. And then I just named the folder like Backyard Birds, Glen Echo, Dawn in Alexandria. It's probably hard to see. I don't know if I can make this any bigger. Uh, yeah, because I'm using a 4K monitor, so all the fonts are tiny. But basically, I have first quarter, second quarter, then within the quarter. So I need to go back and rename these folders, right? And then I also have my client folder here that I have here. Not that many clients, right? And then I have other stuff, eBay, YouTube, Astro, live streams, stuff like that. Stuff that's not that critical, right? And then here I have projects that I like to work on. So if it's a particular camera, like there's my XH2 project that I haven't worked on in 2 years, or it's been a year. Uh, these are just various projects. They might be product reviews, and then I archive them into this folder, right? A lot of these are product reviews, but some of them are personal projects. But I don't have to rely on the cataloging system and keywords and all of that that Lightroom has. And Peter says, morning all, when using vintage lenses, is there any reason to enter the lens data info other than to have it show up on the metadata? Nope. Well, yes, there is one important reason. Uh, you don't have to do it using the lens data feature. You can do it directly using the control panel, but you have to enter the focal length of the lens for the IBIS to work properly. So, for example, if you put in a 50 millimeter lens and you have the IBIS set for 9 millimeters, all your images are going to have motion blur, right? Because the camera's trying to compensate for a 9 millimeter lens, but you put a 50 on there. It's a little bit of an extreme example, but I've done that before because I have the 9 millimeter body cap lens, right? And then I put on my 50 millimeter f1.8 OM system lens, and all my images were blurry. And I was like, oh, I got to go in and change the focal length in the IBIS. If you use lens data, you have to put the focal length in. You put the aperture in as a reference. It's not. It doesn't affect the exposure in any way. And then, of course, the lens data, so you know what lens you use, the name of the lens. So I use it primarily for uh, being able to use the IBIS with the adapted lens. But you should be able to enter directly into the IBIS menu system somewhere. It's different on every camera, but you should be able to enter the focal length of the lens you're using for the IBIS. Or you can just turn IBIS off and just use the reciprocal rule, right? Uh, and folks, remember to hit the like button. Oh, I appreciate that. I don't know how much it really helps though, hitting the like button, subscribing, all that stuff. It helps me mentally, right? I'm like, okay, I got a few subscribers, I got a few likes. Life is good, right? But ultimately, what makes a channel successful is the content, the personality of the content, and I think also the integrity, right? You have to trust the person you're watching. Uh, all these things drive up viewership and thereby ads revenue, right? And trust is good for, if I recommend a product and you trust me, you'll probably buy it, right? If you're interested in it. So I get affiliate commission on the side. Like I I I'm a big fan of DxO products. So if you buy anything through my affiliate link with DxO, I'll earn a commission. Because you trust me and you see me every week editing your photos, right? Because I have a weekly stream for submit your photos to edit. You see me every week doing that. So I've built trust with that audience. And ideally, if you're thinking about buying DxO, you know that I'll be there next week to edit your photo or answer your questions, things like that. But all the likes and subscribes and memberships, whatever, they're all greatly appreciated. It all helps. And Adam says, I don't sell images, so don't care if they are in Google Cloud. Yep. I use Flickr to sort of back up. It's ultimately my database of photos that I like to keep because I only put the ones I want to keep on there. They're not necessarily great photos, but I like them. That's my cloud backup, just the JPEGs. Again, honestly, I don't think my photography is that important, right? And I could lose everything tomorrow. It's okay. I'll just go out and take more pictures. It's not like, you know, I don't have a camera. I can take more pictures later and hopefully better pictures than I did in the past. So I don't worry about pictures I don't worry about my old pictures. I would, my family photos and things like that, I put on Flickr in a private section, but all of my other photography, aside from the most recent client work that I'd like to keep a backup of, um, but I could lose everything. It's okay. I'll just take better pictures tomorrow, right? God willing. Adam says you can search here and it recognizes, uh, I'm not sure what Everns and objects. You can tag faces. It will get me close enough to find in my files as long as I don't alter metadata. So this is related to cataloging or finding photos, but I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to, what software. Oh, it's right here. All pics go into folders by date, year, month, day, the name of the event, like soccer. So that's very similar to what I do, right? I create a new folder each year. Every year, all my JPEGs uploaded to Google Photo allows key search. Oh, okay, okay, okay. That's right. I can put in if you upload a photo, Google AI or something can identify all the elements in the photo and you can search that way. It's kind of scary. Flickr does that too to some extent. Because I can search for like sunrise. And even if I didn't keyword or identify the picture in any way as a sunrise, it'll find it. That's an excellent point. And oh my goodness, Peter, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Gosh, you guys are so generous today. And Zachary says, with the magnify feature, I can see an enlarged image on the EVF. If I can see it there, can the camera capture what I see? Not in magnify, no. It's going to capture that area that's magnified, but it's not going to capture only that area. It's going to capture the entire frame. So you'll have to crop it in post, basically. I mean, there is a built-in digital teleconverter that'll give you a 2x, I think. And that's what you see is what you get. But the magnify feature is simply a focusing aid. Wow, looks like I'm all caught up on the chat. That's pretty awesome. Uh, so yeah, I think there's a couple of streams I caught up with this week. Robin, I like to catch up with my peers, Robin Wong, Jimmy Chang, in terms of their live streams. And I caught most of Robin's about Panasonic cameras. So we talked a little bit about the LX100 Mark II, which I made a comment in his stream about it being my favorite Panasonic camera. I should also mention I missed the Lumix S1R Mark I. I keep gassing for that camera, but I can't justify it, especially now that things are so lean. I really want that camera, but I'll probably wait for the S1R Mark II when I can get my hands on that. That might be a while. Uh, but and I only talk about the full frame cameras, S1R, S1R Mark II, the S5, S5 II. These cameras don't interest me quite as much because they're not high res, right? If I'm gonna go full frame, I'm gonna get a high res camera if I can. Uh, and like for example, my Sony A7R5, I could have got like the A7R4 or A7 IV for like 1,000 less, but why would I do that? I got a great deal on A7R5. I got the full resolution. I can use APS-C lenses and still get 26 megapixels. And there's a little bit of FOMO, fear of missing out. Uh, you know, what will I really get with a high resolution camera? And it's not that much. Uh, it, I've talked about you know, that in the past, but Yeah, the S1R Mark II is a very interesting camera to me. I think that will be, but another camera I'm gassing for is the Hasselblad 907X. I don't know why. Maybe medium format would be really interesting. I've seen GFX 50Ss go for like $2,500 used. Those are really tempting. But when I saw one in person, the camera's so big and bulky. I mean, even bigger than S1R Mark One. I mean, it was just a brick. And the lenses, I was like, oh God, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it. Uh, so that's why I kind of go back and forth. But like the Hasselblad 907, it's just a little thing, right? It's only about this big. And I can use it on my Hasselblad 500 body. So I already have a lens. And then eventually, well, eventually, but the problem right now is it's six, $7,000 for that body, and then it's another, you know, thousands of dollars for an actually a native lens to use with it. So, yeah, that's not happening anytime soon either. And Robin says, "Have you tried the 50 to 200 4/3 lens with the adapter yet?" Yes, I have. It's excellent. Uh, let's see. Well, if you look at this image here, uh, this is this image was taken with the E620 with that lens. Let me let me give you the link to that. Okay, just as a comparison. But uh where is why did I click organize? Hold on. Flickr albums. There should be an album for this lens somewhere. Let me try this 200 and then that's the 55. Maybe I haven't put them in here yet because it should just come right up. There's definitely none of those. How about my Instagram? Let me go down here. I think this photo is one. Oh no, that's the LX100 Mark II. Anyway, it wasn't that long ago. Wow. All right, let me just put. I'll find it for you. I need to pull up that one. No, I know I did it. I'm a no, 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 no. I will find it. Uh, Okay. So this is my I'll come back to it. It's loading. I just typed in a search for 50 to 200. Oh, here we go. This one here. So this picture is definitely this is definitely on my Flickr. And it's not that long ago. It's not on my Flickr. Are you serious? Pigeon. Oh, I haven't posted it yet. That's why it's not there. But yeah, here's one. And these are a bit older. Gosh, I reorganized my photos here, so things are not where they used to be because I deleted a ton. But here's another one. I mean, all right, so image quality aside, image quality is really good. Really, really, really good. It works well. The adapter that I bought was like a $30 adapter, dirt cheap, and it works for the most part. It can be a little flaky sometimes, like the lens will not get recognized and I have to turn the camera off and on again. But it works most of the time. Uh, and the autofocus performance is not bad. I think you lose some of the autofocus features or shutter speeds. You lose some capability with the when I mounted it to my OM3. But for the most part, it worked all right. And the image quality is great. I would not use it for sports action wildlife. I tried with the pigeons and things. I was having a little trouble uh, because I was so reliant. Like I don't think I had bird detect available. I can't remember, but it works okay. Just if you want to use like adapted lenses, I would use it mostly for street and still life. If you want to use adapted 4/3 lenses, I wouldn't use it for any kind of sports action. Okay. Uh, and oh, John Thomas is here. Good to see you. I wish, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. So this is the 50 to 200. And where's the adapter? Here's the adapter. This is the adapter I got for it. And and this is has a metal base mount here, but the rest of it's plastic. So it's not very strong, which for smaller lenses is fine, but for this 50 to 200, I'm a little bit weary. So there's the 50 to 200. This is a 2.8 to 3.5, variable zoom, no lens cap. Okay. So let me see. So CAF works, subject detect works. Okay. So what am I losing? I think I lost. Let me get it out of art filter mode. Okay. So CAF, SAF, bird detect, all good. I think it's the continuous shutter. And no, I was using continuous shutter. What the heck did I lose here? Drive mode. So I lost SH2 Pro Capture, but where's my continuous shutter? High-res shot works, Grad ND, HDR. So let me turn all that off. Let me turn off subject detect. Well, I haven't shot with it that much, but I'll take some time and shoot with this and let you guys know what happens. But right now I can't access continuous shutter. I don't know what setting would be throwing that off. It's all off. Let me turn this off. Yeah, for some reason continuous shutter's not working. But everything else seems fine. But I think, the 4/3 lenses are kind of a known quantity. There's some good ones, there's some not so good ones. The good ones that I have is like I think it's the 14 to 52 and the 50 millimeter macro and this 50 to 200. Those three lenses are very good. And the Gray Vanzini is here. Good to see you. Says I can't achieve sharp images with my little LAO 17. I wonder if I read to enter focal length in the IBIS. All of the focusing assistant peaking doesn't help. Yeah, definitely check your focal length for your IBIS. So what you can do is sort of put the camera on a tripod, turn off IBIS, and take a test shot of a still life, and then turn IBIS on, take another shot, and then compare the two images, and that'll tell you you know if IBIS is the problem or not, right? Okay. Well, why does my clock say it's 2:45? It's telling me it's 4 hours later. I looked at the clock on my desk here and it's like 2:45, which by my watch it's only 10:45. Okay. Yeah, IBIS is a very common problem. Another common thing, I don't know if Michael's still here, but the focus clutch on pro lenses, the question I got was, I can't get he couldn't get the lenses out of manual focus. I said, well, it's probably the focus clutch is engaged. So push that back out and then also go into the menu and you can disable the focus clutch feature. That's probably all it was. Okay. Well, okay, gang. I don't see a lot of questions and it's kind of quiet this morning. So maybe was there something else I wanted to talk about? I don't think so. Maybe we'll call it here. So you guys have a great rest of your week. I'm gonna try and do more vlogging and more tutorial demo videos. And I will be back Tuesday for a shopping stream, Wednesday for the OM System Ambassador meetup, and then again next week, Sunday, look for Lee Hoy to be my guest and sharing his nature tips as well. Thanks for everyone for coming in today, and thank you so much for your support today through the super chats, the coffees, and the direct donations, subscribing, liking, all that great stuff. It helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate it. So thanks again, and I'll see you again soon.